So this are the best new visual novels that have come out recently, as well as novels that are coming out soon and could be potential hits. Enjoy watching! Well, fans of thrillers, horror, drama, mystery and Twin Peaks, ready to know the background of all the characters in the game Pink Noise. Well, the story of the game tells about teenagers who encounter unknown forces in a quiet and unremarkable town of Riverwood. Heroes will have to face uninhabitable horror penetrating into their minds and taking the most hideous forms. The nightmare will last forever, devouring one's victim after another, if the protagonists do not solve the mystery behind their misadventures. With his action, the player will influence the plot and create the fates of the main characters. As spices will be added branching non-linear narrative, drawn graphic, colorful character, animation and retro atmosphere of the 19th, and the cherry on the cake will be voice work. Now, the team is preparing for the release of the first chapter of Pink Noise. In total, it's planned to release 5 episodes, which one after another will plunge you into a new depth of horror. The demo is scheduled to be released in June 2024 at the Steam Next Fest, with the promising release of the first episode set for autumn 2024. Replica, Lego Dungeon and The Wake, Morning Mother. Do these titles tell you something? Then the next game, No Case Should Remain Unsolved, continue this tradition and give both good gameplay and heartwarming story from the developer Somi. It all started on the 1st of February 2012. A little girl, Someone, is reported missing from a playground. Police are interviewing witnesses and suspects, but Someone's case is still unsolved. 12 years after the resignation of Chief Inspector Ijon Kung, she is visited by a young police officer, a girl who begs to review the case of Someone. The player has to help the heroine to solve the case, firstly, to remember all the conversations, statements and actors in the story, and secondly, to correctly sort out all the statements by actor and arrange them in chronological order to finally reveal the whole picture of what happened. No Case Should Remain Unsolved is an incredible, beautiful and even realistic story about a missing girl, which first of all teaches that you should not give up. The game is recommended to all lovers of detective and puzzles. Have you ever wanted to try writing fairy tales or fantasy story, but you doubt your abilities? There's a great solution for you, Storyteller game. In the game, the author tells riddle based on time-tested narrative structure and images. You, as a storyteller, are tasked with sorting out the story by moving character to the right side. The queen must rule the country, the baron always wants to take her place, the king is always ready to rescue the queen. At times, Storyteller offers several solutions to the same riddle. When you pass the test for the first time, another one appears under the original given condition. For example, you poisoned someone and you prompt to complete the same puzzle without killing them. This flexibility also allows the narrator to snake his comedic muscle. Moving on to silly what if. Like in a novel called Everybody Rejects Edgar, where the hapless hero is desperate to try his luck with everyone he can find. The game is short enough that it can be completed in a few hours and be comedically and aesthetically enjoyable, with a little bit of exploration of the basic archetypes of literature. Who is a hero? It's a good guy who saved the world, but at the cost of that world, doesn't hero have to hurt someone? Now imagine, you're walking down the first path, at the end of this path is a cabin, and in the basement of this cabin is the princess. It's time to be a hero. After all, you're here to kill her. If you don't, the world will end. The princess will do everything in her power to stop you. She'll charm you, she'll lie to you, she'll promise you peace, and if you let her, she'll kill you 1,000 times over. So, are you ready to be a hero? Don't forget, the fate of the world rests on your shoulders. very attractive graphic, atmosphere, story, and really important issue of being. Try heirlooms to taste. What are you willing to do when you're hungry? How about summoning a demon? For the Coffin of Andy and Leyley, it's quite normal. The story is about a certain disease that the two main characters, Andrew and Asher, contracted, because of which they are quarantined and left to fend for themselves. You cannot leave the house, no one brings food, friends do not go to them, parents ask them not to call. In general, not much good. At some point, the guy hears music, go out on the balcony, see another man who is also in quarantine, and who, out of desperation and hunger, decides to summon a demon. To be honest, he succeeds, true, with deplorable results for him. The game has a great script and cool dialogues. As for the gameplay, it's nothing special, just walk around and chat. After all, the whole point here is the relationship between brother and sister. Well, a little bit of cannibalism, but it's also sold as an appetizer. The chemistry of brother-sister game is the key to success of the Coffin of Andy and Leyley. Do you hear that? What's that sound? A gunshot? A train collision? In PARANORMASIGHT, the seven mystery of Honjo, that rumbling, harsh, varied, metallic sound is the sound of understanding. It kicks in as the character make a connection between two disparate parts of the story. You move between locations, control different characters, trigger the stream of consequences. What my character think about the environment, this phone box, that stranger, and have long, multi-part conversation with people. At any moment, you can press the Think button, which gives you direct access to what the character has realized from everything you learn. And there is you are, a text vampire, wandering around trying to pull out as many words as possible so you have more material for puzzles to solve. As a result, the game is a tangle of motifs, made even more exciting by the memorable character and atmosphere. One night and one grey, dreary day in Tokyo. The sheer wall of a concrete building. The sky pierced by power lines and telephone lines. A game book about a book. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, it's Pentiment. It's a medieval detective. We are transported to the 1518 and control Andreas, an artist who has arrived in the town of Tuscany. He has to work in the scriptorium, simply put it in the workshop, in the abbey of Curacao. The protagonist gets acquainted with the locals and abbots of the monastery, and at some point ready to strike. Someone kill Baron Lawrence right within the wall of the abbey. Not only that, but Piero, Andreas' mentor and close friend, is found at the scene of the crime. The old man would hardly be strong enough to stab such a sturdy man to death. But the archdeacon making the judgment has no other suspect. Andrea decides to retrain himself from the artist to detective and personally investigate. The whole story is strained over 25 years. However, the basic gameplay is very simple. Talk. Lots and lots of talking. There are also mini-games, but the emphasis is still on talking. At the same time, what we talked about affected the character. We can start to understand laws, book or occult debts. Then we will have additional line available to us, which can easily change their attitude toward us. How we will understand attitude is by fonts. Fonts reflect the social status and cognition of the character we interact with. Peasants have a plain, handwritten one. Nobles and other nobles have their own, more fancy version. Monks have the most complex script. With our action and war, we write a new book of life and try to solve a very murder that happened at the beginning of the game. The game is very niche, but if you like it, you will definitely have something to remember. Relationships are very hard work. Candy Bucket period is certainly good, but then begin real difficulties, which can be overcome only together. The game LoveChoice perfectly demonstrate this. After all, every wrong step will not lead you to a good relationship in your game cup. There are 3 stories in the game. Each story is well written because they are quite visual, relevant and touching, and the characters are recognizable and realistic. Their story and people from our lives. They watch 5 series of Netflix and discuss Warcraft 3, communicate on Twitter and Instagram, listen to common music and want to make game about love. Well, and they want to love themselves. The gameplay here is non-trivial for visual novels. While the girl writes something to you in chat, you can click on her Twitter, scroll through her feed, learning about her taste and the latest news in her life. Very useful when preparing for a date. And even if the screen prompts you to choose a line or answer something, it doesn't mean you have to choose and answer something. Sometimes it's better to click her hand because often action and hugs are more important than words. As a result, LoveChoice is a cute and touching film which is interesting and try to talk about serious topic. The game provides a very useful experience in terms of understanding the psychology and pitfalls that arise in a relationship. I recommend playing it. Next up is a very niche project for fans of Touhou project. As the developers say, a game by fans for fans. However, perhaps this is your chance to get to know this universe. The plot is as follows. Says that curiosity killed the cat, but Yukari Yukuma apparently hasn't heard that saying. Her little experiment with the Hakure barrier had consequences that the world of the yokai was unprepared for. A wave of small and seemingly unrelated incidents sweep across Genshiko, and 8 groups of yokai and humans are sent to investigate it. None of them suspect how the action may turn out. The game is a visual novel set in the world of spirits, yokai and humans, with 8 chapters of story, over 50 characters, and the huge world of Touhou project. The game is now in early access and you can check out the prologue for free. Says that bartenders are great psychologists. They are always supportive with a word and a shot. The hero of the next game, The Secret Ties of Strandcliff, is a bartender who becomes a detective. As a bartender, you must welcome strangers and locals to a bar on the outskirts of a small town called Strandcliff. Listen, memorize, connect, and use the information to manipulate people for your own benefit, or to help those who deserve it, or hinder those you don't like. Manage your bar, hire people, provide accommodation, buy merchandise, find things left behind by a customer, store, use, or sell them. Basically, your bar, your rules. There are 3 protagonists and more than a dozen characters in the game. Their fate depends entirely on the player's choice, but it's unlikely to help everyone. Such an interesting detective is waiting for us. Release date not yet announced. Tell me honestly, do you have problem with productivity? For example, you sit down at your computer and instead of doing next task from your manager, you switch on another game, Steam, and get high. And then get angry at yourself for not having time to close the task. If so, then Chill Pulse is for you. Chill Pulse is a gamified tool for managing your time. You switch on the game, set up your in-game workspace and get on with things in comfort. Choose from a range of beautiful created scenes, each offering a unique atmosphere to encourage concentration and affection. Customize it to your personal taste. Use Pomodoro's built-in timer and customizable task list to divide your task into manageable intervals, optimizing your study and work routine for a better result. Enhance your concentration with a hand-picked collection of music and ambient sound designed to complete the mood of each specific environment, aiding in concentration and relaxation. In short, create your own lofi girl to help you work comfortably on your tasks. The game service will be available this month. Which game you liked? or which one you didn't tell about? Write in the comments. If you liked the video, I will be glad to you like and subscribe.